This is by far one of the most disturbing things about the human mind, and I think it is also one of the best arguments for why we don't actually have as much free will as we think we do. Although I do think we have some free will, and that will play a part later into this video. I feel like the best way to illustrate what goes on in your mind and why it is kind of disturbing is through the most concrete example that I've had recently that shows how much this dictates what we see and what we choose to focus on. So there was this game made by actually the creator of RuneScape called Brighter Shores, and it came out November of last year. And I didn't get too into the game until like a couple months after it released. And it didn't have a big player base. The players were dwindling slowly, but I was still banking on it doing well. And I had hoped that it was going to do well. I got into the game and I was really enjoying it. I was enjoying leveling up my character. I was enjoying doing the quests. And I really wanted to see the game succeed. And therefore, whenever somebody had a negative criticism, or almost any time someone had a negative criticism toward the game, I would find ways to disagree with it. And all the Steam reviews that were negative, I wouldn't really pay attention to them. All I would pay attention to was the positive reviews. Although the reviews were mostly positive, like any negative review that didn't have a really articulate argument, I just completely dismissed. I didn't even choose to focus on it. And I kept reading the positive reviews over and over, and the positive things being said about the game on Reddit too, about why this game is going to succeed. And something really interesting happened over the past month or the past couple months when I decided to stop playing. And when I realized the game has a lot of fundamental flaws and it's actually kind of boring in its current state because it's in early access and there's just not that much to do when you finish the quests, I started to lose hope for the game. And I was like, I don't think this game is really going to go anywhere. And it's definitely not going to achieve the same success as RuneScape did. At least that's what I think in my current state. And guess what happened? When I went to Steam and I was looking through the reviews, I noticed my eyes drift away from all the positive reviews and only focus on the negative reviews. So interesting. And then on Reddit, whenever someone would flame the game and say, this game is dead, this game is not going anywhere, I would like laugh and agree and be like, yeah, no. Like, this is what I'm choosing to, well, I'm not choosing. This is what I'm paying attention to now. And I took a step back after, honestly, like a day. Like, I noticed this pretty much instantly, but I thought it was such an explicit example of confirmation bias, of how much our brains are attuned to focus on and try to find what confirms what we already believe. And the reason this example is so useful here, I think, is because it was an example of something that I started out having a belief that this is going to be a good thing and it's going to have a great future and I'm hopeful for it. And my beliefs around the game completely switched, and therefore it completely changed the way I focus on the reviews of the game, what people are saying on Reddit, etc. And it just goes to show how much our brains are confirmation machines. What you are focusing on right now, when it comes to this video, maybe there's going to be a certain part of this video that hits you more than another part of this video. Maybe there's certain videos I've made where you've really paid attention to some parts over others, or you've decided to click on some videos more than others. Guess what the reason is? The reason is because my videos that you wanted to click on were probably confirming beliefs you already had about the world or yourself. Or it was the complete opposite, and you wanted to click on it as a way to pick apart the video and be like, this is why this guy is wrong, instead of listening to what I'm saying, which might be true. So it's disturbing in the sense that we actually really don't have that much control over what we choose to focus on if we aren't aware of our beliefs about the world. If we aren't aware of our beliefs about the world, we will be unconsciously focusing on things that we wish we wouldn't focus on, maybe, or that we think is like the right thing to focus on and is true about the world because it makes us feel smart, because we don't like being wrong, and confirmation bias allows our egos to stay in check. It fuels our egos. It makes sure we exist, you know? I think confirming our beliefs is a way to prove that our existence is valid. And so because your brain is doing it subconsciously, this whole idea of free will, I do think we have free will. And I think we have free will in the sense that we have the ability to change our beliefs and therefore change what our brains subconsciously focus on in our environment. But if you don't go through that very rigorous process of changing your beliefs, which can be very hard, especially if some of these beliefs have been ingrained in you since you were a kid, then you're going to be guided by whatever confirms those beliefs, pretty much. I know there are exceptions to that. We aren't always committing confirmation bias every second of the day, but yeah, pretty much you don't even have a say in what you're focusing on, really, especially if you didn't create the beliefs that currently make up your life or how you feel about yourself. But this is the most powerful discovery, because while it is disturbing in that sense, if you can identify those beliefs, like I said, then you can basically make your brain do positive work and look for good things for you. So long as you change the root beliefs surrounding life or yourself, then your brain, once those are ingrained into you, those new beliefs, is naturally going to seek out opportunities for you to reinforce those beliefs further. So I'll give you an example of maybe what this would look like. Let's say you have a low self-worth and you're feeling really lonely, but you're afraid to go up to strangers. Well, the root belief there is probably, it's rooted in fear. You are afraid to go up to strangers because you think if these strangers reject you, that confirms that you have a low self-worth, and confirming that you have a low self-worth is only going to make you not want to approach strangers in the future. So if the root belief maybe is like, I don't think I'm interesting enough to not get rejected, or I think other people are out to get me, I think other people are generally untrustworthy. Once you start to shift those beliefs and you give your brain evidence to reinforce the new beliefs that you want, because that's really how you do this. You don't just say a bunch of affirmations. You don't just say, oh, I am confident enough to go up to people. I am resilient to rejection. I am resilient to rejection. You don't just say that in the mirror a bunch of fucking times. Like, that's going to help to an extent. But really, the only way you're going to get over that negative root belief that seeks out confirmation that you shouldn't go up to people, and that might look like, let's say, a group is like turned away from you and your confirmation bias kicks in, and it's like, oh, they're in a group, they're in a circle. So actually, it looks like they don't want to be approached. That's your brain making up excuses as to why you shouldn't go up to them, because you have the confirmation bias that you're probably going to get rejected and you're not great enough of a person to recover from rejection if that were to happen, or actually get acceptance from them. So anyways, it starts with that first approach, right? Like, if you approach enough people and you gather enough evidence for your brain to start thinking, people actually aren't scary. I actually am not getting rejected here over and over. People are actually much more receptive to wanting to hang out with me. And you've proven that to your brain through consistent evidence by going up to people. And the first approach is always the hardest. Trust me, it gets easier over time. Then your brain is going to start changing its bias towards, I'm not good enough to be accepted by people, or people are generally untrustworthy, because you've given it the evidence that proves those things are not true. And now you have a bias towards seeing people as generally receptive, generally trustworthy, and a bias toward you believing that you are capable of making friends, or at the very least approaching people, going up to people, and being a friendly, amicable person who can have at least decent conversations because you provided that evidence. And now, every time in the future, because you used your free will to tune your confirmation bias, to start seeking things in your environment that confirm that you have a high self-worth and that people are generally trustworthy, you're going to start seeing the world from a completely different perspective. And specifically in this example, people. You're going to start looking for more opportunities, probably, to nudge in. I don't want to say nudge in, that's kind of like forcing yourself into a conversation, to get into some conversations with people. You're going to maybe even notice your body language starts to change in front of people. You're more open with your body language. You might start noticing that. And you might start noticing you want to smile more when you walk by people, because you've got these new beliefs in your head that that's how people are, and you are the person that is confident around other people. And so naturally, your body language and your brain is going to change to match those beliefs. So that's probably the best example I can give. And that's why confirmation bias and your deepest root beliefs about yourself, once you change those, any of them that aren't serving you, and you provide the evidence that these beliefs aren't true, and enough evidence to shift those beliefs to something that gives you more of what you want in life, then naturally your brain is going to start seeking things in your environment outside of you and start paying attention to more of the positive thoughts that get you to do more of the things that confirm the new beliefs. So that's why this is so powerful. That's why it can be disturbing as well. It all depends on how you utilize this knowledge. This is a pretty major theme, like a lot of the topics on this channel, of my novel that I'm currently writing. I'm writing a novel about a 21-year-old who lives in a post-pandemic world, the present world we're living in, and he goes through this really tragic loss and develops the ability to see into a parallel reality. So if you like psychology, philosophy, self-improvement, and fiction, like sci-fi, I think you'll really enjoy the book. If you want to get updates for the progress on the novel as I'm writing it, then you can go to my newsletter, Substack, and subscribe to that. The link is in the description. And if you want to talk to people who help you realize that those negative beliefs can be changed and help provide you with more evidence that you're capable of way more than you think you are, so you start seeking out things that make you believe that, then you can join my self-mastery school, where we meet in a video call every weekend. We talk about stuff like this to really try to bring out the best in each other. It's a really great community. So if you want to check that out, link in the description as well. And thank you for watching.